Welcome everyone to Otaku Time Machine, a show that takes you through the anime archives of yesteryears. I'm your Captain Frankfurter, and with me are my skippers as always, Drutendo64 and Magically Average. How are you two lovely lads doing on this Saturday afternoon?
Cold.
Fantastic.
Old or
Oh,
cold?
Cold. Well, I have that too, but
both. Yeah.
Yes,
Old and
but
cold.
yeah.
old and cold.
Fair enough. So this week, we are doing a little bit of a different episode. I know that we've been doing different episodes here recently in the sense that we've been doing a lot of movie reviews, but we're going to go back to our roots and do a TV show. However, it is a different TV show. It is not an anime of the archives of yesteryears. It is a spooky little show for the spooky season or just kind of the fall season in general. Today, we will be going over the Garden Wall. Do you like what I did there?
That was pretty good.
Going over the show,
Mm,
yeah, okay. But yes, today we're going to be reviewing Over the Garden Wall. If you have not watched it, it is a show on Cartoon Network that came out in 2014. I want to make sure that I actually remember that correctly. Yes,
Yeah.
it aired in November of 2014. You can watch it now on Hulu if you are in the United States. But yeah, this is a 10 episode miniseries. Each episode is 10 minutes long. So it's a grand total of 100 minutes. You can watch it under 2 hours. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. And we'll get into why it's wonderful here shortly. But to me, this show does mean a lot. This is a show that I've been watching for the past like 6, 7 years annually. And I watch it with a group of friends. It just gives us an excuse to get together once a year to watch a show that we all love and enjoy and kind of requote things, learn things that are new for the first time. Like, every watch through of this series, I feel like I find something new. So every year we're like, oh, that's new. But then there are the times where it's like, hey, this is a new thing that we noticed. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure we said that last year. So there's always something new to be said for this show. I absolutely love it. But boys, what do y'all think about this show?
Uh,
Um, oh,
it's like I'll go
oh,
first because someone here hasn't never
yeah.
seen it before. Um, this is now a yearly tradition for my wife and I. I think we watched it for the first time 3 years ago, and I had heard about it when it had come out, but 2014 I would have been in college, and I wasn't gonna watch some kiddie show. No, I'm watching adult shows like football because that's a show. Um, but yeah, I had come across it on Hulu and I was like, I've heard good things about it. Let's watch it. And now we watch it annually during the fall spooky season. It's wonderful. It's such a crazy departure from what one would consider like a classic children's or young adult cartoon show because it has so many like intricate parts to it and you can dive really deep into it like a college thesis paper style analysis and just start uncovering massive amounts of like relationships with different series and like the divine comedy and all that stuff, or you could turn your brain off and just pretend like it's a goofy old cartoon show from Cartoon Network where they were going through their like edgy phase and still enjoy it that way too. But no, this is an absolute wonderful series through and through, except for one episode. And you know what episode it is. You know who you
I
are.
know what episode it is. Drew, what did you think of this show as a first time watcher?
So I enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun. And it is now I'm going to do the tradition of watching it too because typically I watch a lot of stuff, whether it's anime or shows like this by myself, but I'm gonna get my family involved in this one just because it's got a lot of cute stuff. The music is fun, and just the characters are awesome, and that's how I got introduced to it. A lot of the time, I would see the memes of Beatrice the Bird or just Greg goofing around, and I was like, I got to take a look into this. So when you guys suggested it, I was like, yeah, okay, I have a general knowledge of it, and I went in with medium expectations because like older Cartoon Network stuff generally is good, but I wasn't expecting something like as polished and as well done as this for a mini series. So,
Yeah.
and then I started looking into it more, doing like research on who was involved, and again, like it's really it's well done, and I wish we had more content like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that in the sense of, I agree for the content. I wish we had more mini series or just series in general that just sort of like, hey, we want to just tell a story, whether it be, artsy fartsy or not, or, whether it be left up to your interpretation as to how to, feel about the ending of a show or whatnot. But yeah, to say that this miniseries had a star-studded cast and kind of creator is very much so a understatement. So the show was created by not Joel McHale, but
Patrick
Patrick
McHale.
McHale. I always get that every year. I'm
I
like, did Patrick McHale or
Yeah,
Joel
Joel Mc
McHale made this? And it's
What?
like, no, it's Patrick McHale, which also no relations to Joel McHale. But you've got Joel McHale, and then you've got really prolific voice actors. Some who only have like a one episode, literal, maybe even 1 minute screen time, and others that have like just a whole episode. But our main characters are Wirt and Greg, who are voiced by Elijah Wood, who needs no introduction. And if you do, go watch Lord of the Rings. Um, and Greg, who is voiced by Colin Dean, who is a potentially former actor. It says in their Wikipedia that Colin Dean is an American former actor. So yeah, but other characters aside, I mean, voice cast, we have Christopher Lloyd, we have Tim Curry, John Cleese, and just a bunch of older kind of voice actors and actresses that, we may recognize from old cartoons and whatnot, or our parents might recognize, but the younger generation probably would be like, who's that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting to see like just who was all involved in all of this. But yeah, no, star-studded cast aside, I really think that this show is a delight. We'll go into spoilers here shortly, but just yeah, no, I think that the show was wonderfully done. I wish we did have more, as Drew said, where people took chances and didn't play it safe, because by no means is this a safe show. This is just like from episode one, you're like, this could go many different ways in the sense of how it ends, etc. So
Hmm.
yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. And with that, let's get into a little bit of spoiler territory. So we do have 10 episodes. The episode names are The Old Grist Mill, Hard Times at the Husk and Bee, Schooltown Follies, Songs of the Dark Lantern, Mad Love, Lullaby in Frogland, The Ringing of the Bell, Babes in the Wood, Into the Unknown, and finally The Unknown. Of the 10 episodes, which were your favorite? Which were your least favorite? Drew, let's start with you, buddy.
Okay. So I'm gonna be a little controversial. I liked the where is it here? The Schooltown Follies, only for the fact that the animals in it are like my main characters for it, because the way they interact with Greg and Wirt, they're kind of like they're just intelligent enough, but at other times like they're spacing out, they're like giving you that 100-yard stare, and it's like, are they really, like, are they under a spell? What's going on here? Because at this point we still don't really know what's going on in the woods. So my whole theory the whole time was that it was some sort of like witch's spell, and that the school teacher was this evil person, and it wasn't. But the main reason I like this episode is the potatoes and molasses song.
Oh boy.
And even after this episode, like, because I had watched everything in a pretty long binge, I caught myself just like making dinner one night, and we were having mashed potatoes, and I started singing potatoes and molasses to myself. um Fun fact, I didn't have molasses, so don't worry, I'm not that weird. But my runner up is Lullaby in Frogland, mainly because it's very comedic. There's not a lot of dialogue between the animal characters. Again, we have Greg and Wirt being chased on a boat when the police show up to, like, the frog police, by the way, show up to arrest them. I assumed it was because they are friends with a frog without pants, and all these other frogs are fully dressed. No, they're here to arrest the humans. And then there's the cute little thing of where they run through, like Benny Hill style, they run through the captain's cabin. and Wirt runs right through, and Greg stops to salute the captain. And then when the frog police come in, they also stop to salute the captain. So I thought that was fun. And then last but not least, they're like, well, what are we going to do here? Are we just going to sleep in the mud? And Greg is like, I call that mud, and like dives right in and is immediately like
Just
already
starts to
sinking.
sink.
Yeah, he sinks in it. And it's very Cartoon Network-esque of that time where you have a character who has a deadpan look on their face doing something that maybe you don't have a deadpan look on your face for. And it was just like, perfect. So yeah, those are my favorites. I don't really have a least favorite episode. It's just I felt uncomfortable during the ringing of the bell episode. But
Didn't like Tim Curry's voice with
Yeah.
that one.
Auntie
uh,
whispers.
The ringing
once
of the bell commands you.
I was that whole episode I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then when it does, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good small little twist in that episode. I really think that episode is wonderful. Magically Average. I know your worst favorite. You
Yeah.
can go over your worst favorite,
I could
but
do-
what is your favorite episode as well?
Well, I was gonna say I could do the worst first. I do not like School Town Follies. I find that one aggravating because like it's
Aim for the
Yeah.
apple that he gave to me.
please don't.
That song was stuck in my head for
Oh, it
like
drives
a
me
week straight.
nuts. Drives me nuts. Well, because to go into the premise of the series too, right? Like we're kind of thrown in right away to two brothers that are lost in the woods, and like that's all we know. First episode, they come across the woodsman, voiced by Christopher Lloyd, who's like collecting ichor or something from the trees, and he has a lantern.
Yeah,
He talks
it's
about a
oil.
beast. Yeah. And like then you're like, okay, bye. And then the next episode they go to the creepy town with all the pumpkins, which was that one's a hoot. And then I think the third episode is the School Town Follies, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's pretty shortly
is.
after, right? It just that one, like every episode had some message to it. It felt like some evolution to the adventure. And then School Town Follies rolls around, third episode in, and all it is just Wirt being stubborn and like, oh, I'm getting made fun of by this talking bird because I just follow along blindly. Well, I'm going to keep doing that. Oh, there's a school. Let's go figure this out. There's a teacher, and the teacher caught me and says I have to listen and go into the dunce corner. Guess I have to follow her instructions because I'm stupid and just do things without thinking for myself. And I'm like, okay, weird message. And then, yeah, like the teacher's annoying. The characters are stupid. Like they bring in like this old timey trope of like a woman scorned by a man who she thinks has run away from her after like they love each other, and lo and behold, he's been making money on the side to try to afford a ring for her, and she's also a teacher that teaches animals because her father's bad at investing his money and decided to put all of his funds into this school to teach animals how to do math. And I'm like, what is going on? This episode is like it's just frustrating.
Yeah, but it is
for
an
the
important.
apple that he
Apple
gave
that he
to
gave
me.
to me.
When he
No,
went
but
to-
it's
Ugh.
an important one because by the end of the episode, like all three. Well, I was about to say all three characters, but the two characters, Beatrice and Greg, Wirt, sorry, they have a better understanding of who they are as people and kind of come
Yeah.
closer together and become
It-
friends rather than just like what they were before, which is just this married couple who hates each other act is what I will call it because they would just bicker nonstop.
The odd couple, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it's in the totality of the series, right? That one episode just stands out because it's one of the few where it's only driven by character development, and at that it's really just the relationship between two characters, less so like with themselves. So like isolated, you can be like, oh yeah, there's still something to take away, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like the only one where it's like exclusively just character growth, which I find like to be slow and a little cumbersome to have to get through. But
yeah,
that's the worst
especially with
one.
a 10-episode miniseries. Every episode is 10 minutes. Like I get it.
It feels like it has to be more meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Whereas my favorite episode and I don't remember the names nor when it happens. You'll have to fill in the blanks for me.
I'll
But
fill in the blank.
it is when they stumble upon the tavern, and
That is episode 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern.
is it episode 4? Right
Yeah,
after school
because
time.
they get the horse. They
Yeah.
get the horse at the end
Oh
of the episode.
yeah.
Right. That one has to be my favorite because it's one where you start to really you're unraveling much more about what's happening, and you get a perfect mixture of character progression, but also like the evolution of this adventure and the world that they're inhabiting currently. So it's and I love this whole premise of like at this tavern, every person there is known by what they bring to society. So it's like there's the tavern keeper, there's the master and the apprentice, there's the shoemaker, there's the butcher, there's the highwayman. I'm the highwayman, which I love.
Fucking great.
And they like
if you want, I can list off all of them. So it's the tavern keeper, the highwayman, the toy maker, the tailor, the master, and apprentice, midwife, baker, and butcher. And then if you want to include Fred, the horse, Fred.
Yeah, Fred. But I love that the whole idea is that everyone has like their only purpose in life is just who they are and like what they fulfill within this community. And so like when they're questioning Wirt, they're like, "So who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Wirt." And they're like, "No, like who are you?" And he's like,
"What is your purpose?"
He's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well," they're like, and they're explaining it. They're like, "That's the tavern keeper, the butcher." And he's like, I don't know. I'm just the boy." And then all these people are like making up stories, and they're like, "Oh, you're the lover because you're trying to go find what's her name? Something of the woods." That was their initial quest.
Adelaide.
Oh,
Adelaide.
Adelaide of the Woods.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you must be the lover then. You're the lover." And they start like making up a story for him, how like he has to get married, and then he's like, "No, I'm just adventuring." They're like, "Oh, you're the pilgrim. Like you go off and you keep exploring and like you never settle down in one area." And he's like, "Yeah." But I like that it sets up this like really unsettling piece to it. And then we finish it off with a little bit more about the beast and then see a little bit more of the woodsman too. So you're slowly starting to pick away at what's going on. But that one I love. Not to mention they utilize a really old style of animation called rotoscope for the highwayman scene alone, where he does his little song. And people are gonna be like, "It's not actually rotoscope," and I know it's not rotoscope. It's pays homage to rotoscope, where like he's doing like those really fluid old movements, and like his body size keeps changing and stuff, and it just looks really creepy. I love that. So that one, it's definitely stood out as one where it's a really good pivotal moment in the miniseries of like getting the viewers to understand a bit more of what's happening, but then also like giving more depth to the characters and the setting that they're in.
Yeah, no, that's I like that assessment of the episode. Like it is a good episode. For me, my least favorite episode is number 8, which is Babes in the Wood. Babes in the Wood. It's basically, Wirt is just so sick and tired of it. Like this world has beat him down. They haven't gone anywhere. Essentially, they're still lost. They're none the wiser as to what to do next. So he decides, I'm gonna go to sleep, and Greg is like, I'm gonna do the same. And Greg just has this weird dream, and we go into Greg's dream world where he goes into the sky essentially, and just plays out just this weird adventure in the sky where it's an homage to like Betty Boop and all these different kind of older cartoons where like silent film cartoons. And not to say that like it isn't animated well, this whole entire series is. It's just that episode really seems like the outlier episode to me of like what is the entirety of the point of this, other than the fact that by the end of it, like Greg returns to his because the dream starts with Greg floating out of his own body and flying into the sky, and then by the end of the dream he floats back into his body and basically trades place. Like the world had bottled down or broke down Wirt's just demeanor so much that he was about to start becoming one. And this minor, well, spoilers. We're in the
Yeah,
spoiler
already in
territory now.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, he starts becoming one of the trees that the beast basically makes into weary travelers who have just basically given up. And so Greg is like, "Hey, Beast, I'll trade places with my brother. Don't let this happen to him." And so I think that's what happens at the very
Yeah.
end of episode 8, because then he walks away, and the next episode is you go back into like the past as to how they actually got here and everything else. And yeah, to me, episode 9 is just kind of like, what the hell is happening here? It was not my favorite by any means of the word. But I did like the animation to it. It was kooky, fun, and I appreciated it.
Mhm.
But my favorite episode by far is episode 5, Mad Love, in which the boys with Fred the horse in tow end up at this old man who is filthy rich, his mansion, and he owns like a tea company, and he basically is haunted by a ghost, or so he thinks. And this episode to me is my favorite, not because of the weird adventure that they go on throughout this mansion, trying to find money for the ferry, so that way they can get to their next destination. I think to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Um, so like the adventure part isn't my favorite part of this. Really, what I love about this episode is the sense of like what is actually going on in this show, because you can, this episode kind of flips everything that you're thinking is going on its head, because once you finally watch all 10 episodes, you go back to episode 5 and you're like, oh fuck, what is actually happening? Because at the very end of episode 10, you see the tombstone of Endicott, and meaning like, okay, he is dead, question mark, but like he's still alive in this purgatory world that the boys are in. um but at the same time, like they give the boys money to cross the river stick, or like, cross the river, which can be taken to like they're giving them 2 coins to cross the river Styx. So it's like, okay, so is he giving him money to like, or giving the boys money so that they can cross over, so that they can die as well, so that they can join them in the mansion later on? Or are, is Endicott and his now other wife or partner, whatever,
Other wife.
not other wife, but partner that they have conjoined mansions for, are they like still just stuck in purgatory, but the world thought they were dead and just buried them? Like it's such a weird analysis of an episode that you can just really kind of sink your teeth in and really debate what this episode actually means. And that's why I think that this show, or like this episode, let alone this entire series, mini series, is just absolutely fascinating, because you can just dissect every little thing about this show.
Mhm.
Most of the lines of the show that seem like throwaways are in fact not throwaways. They mean something to this world and to these characters, and it's one of the things that I absolutely love. And then episode 10 just kind of was like, flips everything around, is like, is what you saw actually real? Like, is it like what happened to the boys at the very end? Like, because things that happen in the very last scene, it's like, are the boys in fact dead? Are they in fact living in their own world? Are they, like, it's so insane to just dissect and think about that. I absolutely adore this series.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we got to get into the characters. So I assume that the teacher character is your least favorite character, Magically Average.
Yes.
But did you have any standouts, like standout characters, standout moments that happened throughout the show that you were like, this was far and wide like my favorite thing about this show?
Um, not. I would say not a specific character I liked, but the interactions between the woodsman and the beast, I thought were perfect, like through and through. Because like it's always a there was always a misdirection taking place. Like you could always tell, like as the series went on, you're like something like is afoot here. Like I'm not getting the whole picture. Like I have to be missing just such a big piece to it. And every time the woodsman and the beast interacted, it was odd because like the woodsman kept saying, Christopher Lloyd's character, who I love, would always just be like, beware of the beast. Like don't approach him. Don't follow his Santi tunes in the night, and then yeah.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
But whenever those two would interact, it was like they had this familial, not familial, but like this sense of like a relation, like a prior history with one another. And you were like,
Yeah,
huh, like what is the connection there? Like what took place? Because it doesn't seem like the woodsman is hell bent on killing the beast, even though he says he's going to. There's got to be some connection going on. And then when the big reveal happens in the final episode, you're like, oh, fuck. You're like, whoa, did not see that coming. Or the second to
yeah,
last episode, I think. But those those two characters together, I feel like were like seen in and seen out gave so much to like revealing the story and again like the world itself and what was actually transpiring and all. And so like every time those two came together, you knew that it was like a really good turning point for what's to come.
yeah. No, I agree. Drew, did you have like a favorite character or moment of a character in this show?
Um, so just for the comedy that he brings and the growth that he has, I really do like Greg. Um, because later on he does kind of admit he's like, "Well, I know we're stepbrothers, and like you're always looking out for me, and you kind of don't want me." But they grow into like being more like buddy cops rather than like we said at the top, the odd couple. Um, and it's really endearing to see that because like as someone who has step siblings, um, like I've gone through that, so it's kind of hits home. The other just because it's the most useless best character is I love the frog and how its name changes every episode to like Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln,
Wirt Jr.
that kid, yeah,
Wart
that kid in their
Jr.
class.
Oh,
Thunderburker. Jason
Thunderburker.
Jason Thunderburker.
Yeah, because that's the
Which,
best because they're in the hospital or whatever, and he's like, "No, not you, the frog."
Not you, Jason
yeah.
Thunderburker.
So it took me until last year's showing that it's not Thunderburker with a TH.
It's Funder.
Funder,
Yeah.
F-U.
Yeah.
Like F-U-N. Like, it's like, wait,
F
It's a
what
you.
the
really big
fuck?
FU. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was weird. But anyways, continue.
And then originally, not that I disliked him, I just felt uneasy with the huntsman or the woodsman because I was like, I don't know what he's about. I don't know if he's secretly the villain. I don't know if he's like watching over them and causing all this chaos. And I don't know. Whenever Christopher Lloyd plays a bad guy, like
Yep.
it just makes me feel uncomfortable. Very Dennis the Menace
I
esque.
was like,
Him eating an apple.
yeah, did you get scarred from Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Ah, what is it? The dip. The
And he
dip. Yeah.
sounds just like this.
Oh god. But
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the range on Christopher Lloyd is incredible. But
Yeah.
what's yours, Frank?
Um, you know, like as much as a cop out, and it's not even necessarily a cop out. I was gonna say, as
You
much as
son
it's
of a
fun to
bitch.
say Fred the the horse, he does
God
have
damn
my
it.
favorite. He does have my favorite line in episode 5, where they're like, "Wait, so we're just gonna steal?" Like Beatrice the bird wants to steal from this old man essentially, so they can get their coins to get across the the river. And Word is like, the common sense straight man. He's like, no, we're not going to steal from these people. Like, plus, not you can't speak for everybody. Like, Fred, what do you want to do? And Fred just turns to him. He's like, I want to steal. Like that throwaway line is just like such comedic, just greatness. Like you see it coming, but the delivery of it is just wonderful. Um, but I think that the woodsman probably is like my favorite character just because you could see what was about to become Wirt. Like you can see that like at the very end of episode 10, you get the big reveal as to what the deal is about this lantern, and you understand that oh shit, like if Wirt had the common sense to be like, no, this is dumb, and take a step back and look at everything, like, and analyze everything because Greg took on his pain and strife and being beaten down. Wirt was able to like analyze the situation, be like, wait, I'm not gonna stay in the woods forever and fuel your lantern. That's just dumb. And critically analyzed it. But like that is the woodsman. He could have been the next woodsman, and the woodsman could have avoided all this if he had taken a step back and analyzed the situation to begin with. And I think that the woodsman has just such a wonderful character growth and just like kind of payoff moment in that sense. And then his final scene where he actually comes home, whether or not you can interpret the fact that he's still alive in this purgatory world and he's gone home in this purgatory world and he meets up with his daughter who he thought was in the lantern, or if he's actually dead and his daughter had lived out a full life and now they are finally reunited in the afterworld. Like to me, I think that that is one of the most beautiful portrayals of a character and character growth, and just a great payoff moment for something that's been built across all 10 episodes, whether it's been on screen or not.
Yeah.
Because you know, at the like in Greg and Wirt's adventures throughout this entire 10 episodes, you know the woodsman is out there trying to like light this lantern to keep the soul of his daughter alive, or so to think he thinks he is. And just, you know, in the background that that's all happening, whether he's not there or there on screen or not. So I really think that his character is just really dynamic, and the emotional payoff at the very end is wonderful. But speaking of payoffs and wonderful endings, what do y'all think about this ending? Like, what do you think that the boys are? Do you think they're dead? Do you think they're still in purgatory? Or do you think they are back in their real world? Because I really don't know. Because I'll go into my explanation as to why, but Drew, let's start with you. Like, where do you think these boys are? Are they in the purgatory still, real world, or are they just straight up dead?
So I want my heart says I hope they're alive, like because like I'm always trying to look on the bright side of things. But originally, when I was watching it, I thought the show was being done in like a Pulp Fiction format where we were watching it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So maybe they
Spoiler.
went into the yeah. Oh no, you haven't watched a movie that's what, like 30 years old now?
30 plus years
Uh,
old, I think.
womp womp. But it's it could be one of those like hybrid purgatories, right? Where they're not in hell itself, maybe, well, or not purgatory, maybe limbo, right? They're stuck in a little bit of a like the waking death. They're almost passed on, but there's just enough of their souls to keep going and live their dreams, blah blah blah. But I also saw there's like a comic series as well.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, does that take place in like
I honestly don't know. It's something that I probably should look into, for the fact that I've like looked into the $95 Mondo figures that they have,
oh
that I've
yeah.
just debated multiple times on if I want to pull the trigger on buying it or not. And I'm like, no, I got too much stuff in my house already. I don't need to get little Wirt and Greg.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
Not for
do.
$95.
Do they come with a frog? Did they come with the frog?
They come with the bird, the frog, and a bunch of different faces
Oh, there you
too.
go.
I'll send you a
Yeah,
link. I'll send
yeah,
you a
you
link
need
to
it.
it.
You need it.
I don't. Not for $95.
That's kind of where I am.
Anyways, um, yeah. So then, okay. Sorry, you wanted to say that they're alive, magically average. Where do you think they are?
I think they're alive too. Um, but it's hard to. So I mentioned it earlier, and for anyone that's interested in exploring it more, there's an incredible Reddit thread on it, which I don't usually plug for Reddit. So I'm not a big fan of that that site. So take it with a grain of salt. But someone took the Divine Comedy and kind of analyzed it against Over the Garden Wall, because this series could be an allegory for the Divine Comedy, which is what created Dante's Inferno. It was kind of what the basis for Dante's Inferno was, if you're not aware. And it's crazy how many similarities there are, and like just how everything's portrayed in the Over the Garden Wall and similarly in the Divine Comedy, where like we're immediately thrown into these two boys lost in the woods, and that's quite literally, like, the only time as a viewer, at least for me, I was ever like, where are these woods? It's the same with like the Divine Comedy, very similar to Alice in Wonderland, where like as the person watching, you're more interested in who they meet along the way and like where like and how they're going to escape, less so where they're at in this world. So it does leave a lot to interpretation, and you can certainly like there's so many layers to it. You can even leave your interpretation to just what's transpiring here, right? Like you could say the woods are purgatory or limbo. You can correlate like the beast to the devil, the huntsman to like an angel, like a fallen angel. A great scene is where uh Greg in at the end of the episode you hate, so I think it's Into the Unknown is episode
Hmm.
9, where Greg's having like these games with the devil, with the beast, and the beast is like challenging
The
Greg to
riddles,
do
yeah.
all these different riddles and stuff, and he's like the last one that we get to see is the beast is like put the sun into this cup, and as the sun's setting, Greg puts the cup on a stump and it literally sets into the cup. And the beast is like, wow,
You've
you're able to
done
like,
it.
yeah, he's like, you've completed everything. That also goes to like the idea that Greg is kind of embodies this childlike innocence where you don't really know what's happening to you. You're just living in the moment, unaware of your surroundings. And so like he's not conditioned to understand the like the meaning and concept of death, right? Like what's actually happening to him. He's just kind of living as though he were ignorant to everything around him, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also the correlation to the Divine Comedy with like the tree, the oil from the tree is like the same as like this black ichor that they use to portray like the fallen souls that are damned to live in eternity in this like realm, right? And like that's the same as like the lost souls who get trapped in the forest and get turned into these trees. So like there's just so many connections. It's crazy. But I think from a top level view, looking at it critically, I think they're alive. Just for the simple fact that like we get to see them as they wake up from the hospital. We get to see all the characters that we met prior to the event that put them into the hospital and then transported them into the garden wall, like over the garden wall area in the
Right.
in the forbidden woods or whatever they call it. Um, so yeah, I'd like to think that, but by golly, like you could dive. I wasn't kidding when I said you could write a college level thesis paper on this series
Yeah.
because it's so deep in its references, the again from an allegorical perspective, like its connection to the Divine Comedy and Dante's Inferno to a degree, like it's so crazy.
Yeah, for me, I'm going differently on this, and you kind
Huh.
of explained why. In my thought analysis of this, and that is that they are still in purgatory, but they are no longer in the beast's purgatory. The beast seemed to be like the controller of this world, but still needed fuel to go through it. So, AKA, the lamp to be have oil put into it. But now that the beast is gone, purgatory needs a new ruler. And my thought process is Greg did all these little stupid, unmeaningful tasks as if to like test if maybe he can become the next ruler of this world potentially.
That's
Uh,
that's so fucked.
it's so fucked. Yeah, but if you think about
Purgatory
it,
Greg.
you think about it, when they wake up in the hospital, Greg is already awake and he's talking to everybody, and he picks up or Jason Funderburker Frog version
D-
and shakes him, and he still has the bell in his belly from this adventure that they had. So my thought process is now they're still in purgatory. Greg is now the ruler of this purgatory, whether he knows it or not. You saying that he kind of walks around obliviously, he's just oblivious to this fact now. But what is keeping him there and keeping him alive is kind of to be determined, unknown what that would be. All of the beasts had like the oil lantern, or his soul
Mhm.
was stuck in the lantern. So my thought process is now, okay, if the maker of this world can just, or if the ruler of purgatory can shape it in any way they want, they're back in reality for all intents and purposes now, but they're still in purgatory. They still haven't necessarily woken up
Mm.
because I don't know. That's just my thought process. Like, yeah, I would love for them to be awake because, they're back in their real world. They remembered how they got there,
Yeah.
being, falling down the cliff, etc., into the river.
The
But at the same time, man, can you just imagine a purgatory world shaped and formed by this stupid
well,
ass little Greg?
so the only that would be honestly, I'd probably ask for death at
Purgatory.
that point. Um, the only
But it
challenge,
also gives like the characters who've been there to like
yeah.
move on to the past. So now it's like a whole bunch of new travelers coming into their world of just like,
Well, I guess
yeah, I don't know.
the challenge is, and something that we never uncover, right? Because it again goes to the whole idea that like you're really there to focus on the two brothers, less so like the surrounding cast, and even less so their placement in this world, right? The woods and everything that
Right.
they go to. But we don't know, like, other than the woodsman, because I'm trying to think at the end, woodsman, Beatrice, and maybe one other, like Endicott to a degree. Like all the other characters we meet, we don't know if they're like a part of this world or were put there from another world, right? Like everyone in the tavern,
Yeah.
no idea. Like same with Endicott, right? Like you referenced that we see his grave at the end, but like we don't know if he's been dead all along and like he's just there as like a shepherd for those, or like if he himself is trapped in this like limbo state, right? I think
Or
the
maybe after purgatory, instead of going to heaven or hell or something, or living out in the afterlife, maybe those who go to hell are actually just buried and dead.
yeah, I who knows. It's the biggest challenge I would have is when it comes to like the woodsman, and then as we discover like the lantern where he thinks his daughter's soul is trapped in there and he's keeping her alive, we find out like no, it's the beast's heart that's in the lantern, right? And then the beast was trying to wager with Wirt to be like, I will keep your brother alive, but you have to you have to take over the lantern, like you have to do the same as the woodsman's done, right? And Wirt's like, no, fuck that. In the ending sequence where we see the woodsman into like go to his cabin and he sees his daughter, right? It's the idea is that, at least what I surmise from the entire sequence, is that what's keeping you in purgatory is like you have to have some connection to the living or dead world that is keep preventing you from crossing over, right? So
Right.
for the case of the woodsman, his daughter's we're going to presume dead, right?
Yeah.
And the idea of her is kept alive by the beast continuously telling him, no, her soul is trapped in this lantern. You still have her, right? And that's what's keeping him in prison in these woods, is the idea that she could still be around. But then once he finally like lets go, albeit through Wirt putting out the lantern, right? His soul can cross over because he doesn't
Yeah.
have a connection anymore. Like it's been severed, right? Same thing with the instance where they're talking about like with Wirt and Greg. Like Wirt would have been trapped there forever. Greg would have died in the real world, we assume. But Wirt's soul would have been trapped for all eternity, just trying to keep his brother, like the idea of his brother alive, and then he would have crossed over one way or another. Like I again, and that's just in the reality that we're given through Over the Garden Wall. Like if you make connections to, like, again, I mentioned Alice in Wonderland, right? You can do connections to Alice in Wonderland, you can do connections to the Divine Comedy. Like there's a lot of like symbolism between different characters and events that take place. Even some of the naming conventions for the episodes, I think there's like a direct correlation to a
Yeah.
chapter, I
So,
think, in Dante's Inferno to something that's referenced in Over the Garden Wall.
well, also chapter 8, my least favorite, Babes in the Wood. It's a literal title of a poem about two children getting lost in the woods.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these like overlapping themes between different series, and again, like from an allegory perspective, like you can draw direct connections. But like again, within just the story of Over the Garden Wall, I feel like what we were given leads us to believe that they are back in their world, but they were in fact trapped in purgatory and have sort of like through their actions might have like released others from their entrapment as well, like with
Yeah.
Beatrice and her family, which is kind of a fucked thing I just thought of. I don't know why this popped in my head, but I'm like, she got turned into bluebirds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there was a character, the tavern keeper was like, "Oh, bluebirds only bring about like bad omens and curses." And I want to say it's a reference to like the avian flu or like bird flu, because I think there was like
Mm.
a massive casualty event, not anything near like the plague, like the bubonic plague, but like quite a long time ago that was connected to. Um, I don't think it was specifically bluebirds, but it could have been. But there's just so many things like so like that's why her whole family is probably gone and departed. Um, my wife brought up something with Endicott tea and the other the woman whose name eludes me right now. But there's some reference to like Endicott tea and in a correlation to something else too. Like again, it's you could spend hours, days, weeks, months just drawing comparisons and expanding upon it even further, which is what I think is a great charm of this. In that I've watched it now for 3 or 4 years straight, and every single time I find something new. Or again, you can turn brain off, just start drooling and look at the funny stuff that
Watch all the
happens.
jokes.
Yeah,
Watch Greg do wild things.
yeah, and just clap maniacally and just have a blessed time in that fashion. So it's it's one of those few series where it is really appreciated by any type of viewer. So I think that's what gives it its unique charm too.
Yeah. Drew, let's go with some final thoughts here, and final thoughts that you want to wrap up this series that you haven't been able to get out there quite yet.
Yeah. Overall, like, had a blast. I did not expect to enjoy it this much. It, like I said at the top, it is going to be a family tradition now. Uh, really, really, I don't know. It just hits somewhere nice, and especially at this time of the year when things are starting to slow down, get a little chilly. It's very reassuring to have a fun show like this. The two things I wanted to mention is a lot of the staff in the show for like written, directed, storyboarding. They're all from Adventure Time, so that's where I assume they all met.
Makes sense.
Because you have Natasha Allegari. She is the creator of Bee and Puppy Cat. You
Oh,
also have Pendleton Ward, the creator of Adventure Time, in there. So like the fact that all these Cartoon Network people are coming together to help and build someone else's dream is really reassuring, because when you start looking into like Natasha Allegari's stuff with Bee and Puppy Cat, a lot of those people come back because they help her out too. So that's really cute. The thing I forgot to mention was Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. This is the other reason I think they could still possibly be dead, is when they're at the end they're digging holes and the skeletons come up and then they go, or no, the skeletons join the parade. Yeah, the big one says something like "See you soon," but
We'll see you
also
soon enough.
yeah, we'll see you soon enough.
Something
But
like that.
also when they show up for the first time, before they get in trouble, one of them says like, "You're a little early."
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and anyways, um, final thought, love it, gonna watch it again.
Any other final thoughts for you, Magically Average, or are you good?
No, I think if I keep going,
Yeah, we'll be here
we'll
for
be
another
there for
hour
quite a
if
long
we
time.
do. Yeah, no, I've pretty much said everything that I also wanted to say. This show is absolutely adorable. If you've not watched it yet, if you're in the United States, you can watch it on Hulu. So it's fully there. You can watch it under 2 hours. Great weekend show, especially for the fall season, let alone the Halloween season. Like it's not. There are some correlations to Halloween throughout the show, but they're not like in your face until like episode 9. So, highly suggest watching it. Thank you all for joining us this week. We appreciate it. If you want to let us know what your favorite episode was, please let us know in the comments. But if you want more from us, you can follow us at Baka&Co Podcasts on social media, wherever you get your social media feed. Until next time, everybody, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye bye.